entitled ThinkOne 21. Pre-concert in the center of Africa. And I know that
Most of all, someone said true love was dead, and I'm bound to fall for you. Oh, what can I do? Yeah. Take my badge, but my heart remains loving you, baby child.
What's up, world? It is Eric Mazimpaka with Siyon Studios, and taking a little moment away from the sketchpad to kind of reflect from the last 2 years. And actually, probably wondering where I'm hanging out right now. And I'm actually in my mom's bathroom. It's kind of strange. It's usually where I do most of my thinking. But usually I'm sitting on the toilet, but I thought it might be a tad inappropriate to be sitting on the toilet for this blog, so I'm sitting on the sink in the bathroom while I think. And it's been an interesting journey the last 2 years. Let me regale you with a little story about this lost and confused little child on the summer of 2009, making a lot of dumb choices. And yeah, I'm talking about me. Yeah, this is true. Eric making a lot of dumb choices. And just kind of lost, trying to figure life out like we all are. And then all of a sudden, picking up a paintbrush and finding this new language and this new way to communicate, And then all of a sudden, as soon as the paintbrush gets picked up, starting to look back at my roots and the long journey that my mom went through to kind of get us here. From a third world country, fleeing as refugees to Sweden because of the Civil War, and then finding our way into Canada in the blizzard of '96. What an introduction to Canada, but I was never been more happy and never seen my mom more happy. As soon as I picked up the paintbrush, all that kind of came into view for me. Then a few months after that, 5-6 months after that, having a fundraiser, because art was such a big thing in my life.
Let's have some fun.
And all of a sudden I found a way to kind of convey, and then I started looking back into Rwanda and the art that was that started coming out of the youth there after the genocide. And then all of a sudden I felt inclined to tell the stories of the artists down there, and then so I had my first fashion show at the event center. I'll never forget it. It was January 20th of 2009, or actually I guess 2010. And then, or is it 2009? No, it was 2010 by that point. Anyways, and then, so standing up on stage, and the documentary was going to be called What Will Tomorrow Bring, about the rise of contemporary art in Rwanda. So this young kid on stage with this dream about a documentary, but not really knowing what he's doing, or not even really having the resources to shoot a documentary like that, or never actually shot a documentary, but full on ran ahead with it. So after the first fundraiser, I was like, you know what, this is not enough. I need to get somebody who's famous to kind of know about this so he can spread the word. So months later, I find myself going with the Greyhound to the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, this giant painting of Kanon's face, and I know I'm gonna meet him, and everyone is wasting your time, and they spend $3 billion on security, but I'm like, so what? Does that matter? Anyways, long story short, next thing I'm getting this painting of his face signed. In the back, get a picture with him, and then his older brother gives me $60 and a hug so I can make it back to Victoria. And then I make it back to Victoria, and then I'm like, what do I do now? So keep on going, trying to find grants, you know, just finding a way. And then around the same time, I know I quit my job, which wasn't the smartest thing to do at the time, but for some reason, you know, I just felt like I had to kind of go for it, and I wasn't making the smartest choices. Just a very passionate guy. So me and Kevin Parks teamed up because he was the guy that was a graphic artist for my first fashion show for this documentary, What Will Tomorrow Bring? And probably some of you were there for that. So we started this, we wanted to start this clothing company, so all of a sudden we start this clothing company and we're trying to figure out a name for it. And I remember my old job, I remember I was sitting down and I was a social care worker, so I was hanging out with one of the clients, Randy, who I will never forget till the day I leave this earth. And I remember I was writing down acronyms and trying to figure out what the name is gonna be, and then all of a sudden, stand in your own nation, you know? So Siyon, and I was like, oh, and I remember him kind of like nudging me a bit and kind of looking at me almost like, that's the one. And I was like, this is the one. So I called KP and he's like, that's the one. So then we got Siyon Clothing, and then we started going, you know, even higher, and then we didn't even really know how to make clothing yet, but we made some designs and some graphics, and we didn't really have a plan yet, but we just knew that we wanted to make some clothing. And then my best friend, I would like to say, got involved then a few weeks later, and then we had Kevin Parks, and then we had Ben Stewart, and then we had Eric Mazimpaka with Siyon Clothing. You know, and he kind of developed because we still wanted to shoot this documentary about the rise of contemporary art. And then all of a sudden things kind of started growing and progressing, and music kind of started to become a big aspect of it. So the next thing, I'll never forget this date, December 21st, 2010, the winter solstice, when all the planets were supposed to be aligning. It was on Monday. I remember 9:30 showing up at Ben's house, hang out. It was about 9:30, and next thing I know, one of his friends runs into the house and he's like, what are you guys doing? Are you guys gonna go watch the lunar eclipse? And I'm like, what? There's a lunar eclipse? So I'm like, no way. So we all jump into the car and we drive up to the observatory close to Gonzales, and it's about 10:15 at this point, 10:30. And I remember we're sitting there and we're all looking up at the sky and we're watching the moon slowly starting to turn a shade of red and keep, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I gotta take some time and climb even higher so I can get a better view of this. So I run around to the back of this mountain, I'm climbing up, I get to the observatory and I start looking up at the sky, and I was listening to the Distant Relatives album with Nas and Damian Marley, so I'm listening to like Africa Must Wake Up, you know, and Patience. And I'm looking up at the sky and I'm like just awestruck at the beauty and realizing that all the planets lining up didn't happen for what, like 900 years or something like that. So I'm standing on top of this mountain by this shimmering white observatory, looking up at the sky, and then the sky is fully almost red. And then all of a sudden I'm listening to Fela Kuti, who, if none of you know, is a famous, legendary musician from Nigeria who stood for the people, you know? MOP, Movement of the People. So I'm listening to a Fela tribute called Africa Shrine, and it's about a 7-minute song, and the horn section in the beginning starts, and this song is very like, you know, just, you know, you've heard those songs that as soon as you hear it, it kind of hits you here. And then next thing I know, I'm looking up at the sky at the end of the song, the last minute and 30 seconds, you know, it's just kind of building up, and then there's this voiceover from one of his interviews where he's just simply saying, music is a weapon of the future.
Music is the weapon. Music is the thing of the future. Music is the weapon of the future.
I remember looking up at the sky, and as it slowly became engulfed with red, and I realized that all the planets were lining up, and I sat there, and then it hit me that it's not only about a documentary about the rise of contemporary art, it's about gathering at our origins, you know, having a festival, using music as a weapon of the future, because nowadays everyone is listening to music, you know, you can't get away from it because it's everywhere, you know. My music, it's important to me like I know it's important to a lot of people out there. So all of a sudden I'm standing there looking up at the sky, realizing that, oh my God, like, we need a festival like this for this generation, you know, the Jacob generation, the generation of changes, whatever you want to call it, the revolutionary generation, the way I like to call it. So all of a sudden I realized that, and I remember the next day I get on the phone and I'm talking to Marco, and Marco's like, hey, isn't it kind of weird that I was 2 years before the end of the Mayan calendar, and then that's why originally we were going to have it on December 21st, 2012. At the end of the Mayan calendar, you know, to celebrate our origins and where the beat will return to the root, you know. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, me, KP, and Ben, I'm sitting there telling them about this idea about having this world festival in Africa. And then all of a sudden, it progressed and it grew and it grew, and then we had Siyon, which was gonna be the umbrella for this whole concept, you know, where apparel with a purpose, you know, like party with a purpose. And then we got driven, and then we got moving, and then it kept going, and then next thing I know, I find myself, next thing I'm in the middle of the highway with a sign on my back saying, running for World Music Festival in Rwanda 2014, Change Not Fear. And it's funny because the entire time I'm running, but I have no bed to get back to when I make it home. I got no shower to make it back to, that's mine, I got nothing. Which I laughed so hard when I was it's a hopeless man running. Anyways, you know, just I believed in the message, you know, and I just realized that within a year and a half from going from being a lost little boy to being a grown man running and fighting for what he believes in, and I truly do believe that ThinkOne is not just a regular festival. I'm talking about a concert festival, a catalyst. I'm talking about the kind of festival that you gather hundreds and thousands of people on the same soil, have them there with this essence of love in the air, you know, where music is ringing through the streets, eclectic collections from South American musicians to the percussion rhythms of Olu from Brazil, you know, just, you know, Ashe Capoeira, you know, Nas, you know, Tali Kweli, Black Star coming back, you know, and Dave Chappelle, Master of Ceremonies, as he takes the stage.
Playing for me, but just get your Africa tickets ready, baby, because it's coming.
To make this presentation for Siyon and ThinkOne concert in the New Year's of 2014, you know?
Thus Africa.
And how this story progressed from being this kid living in the basement of the Victoria Event Center who had a passion for art and wanted to start this clothing company just so he could have a free festival for the world to go and dance, you know? I always watch videos of 1969 Woodstock and just seeing the air in the eyes, you know? And how impactful that concert was, you know, how it revolutionized people's lives, you know, but what better place than going back to where it all began, you know, and looking at Africa in a different light, you know, music, rhythm, every single person on this planet is connected from the roots and soils of ancestors that traveled the lands of Africa, you know, and I see this concert as a celebration of that, you know, a celebration of the last, I don't even know how many centuries, you know? ThinkOne, a collective consciousness where we can all gather and enjoy music, you know, and listen to the music ringing across the streets, you know, and we gather in the center of Africa, you know, hundreds and thousands of people coming together and sharing our compassion, you know, and having a celebration for the next leaders of planet Earth, you know, the ones that are going to shape it. I sit here in the bathroom reflecting on the last 2 years of our road to Siyon, and as we progress and grow. Thank you so much for your time. One love from Siyon Studios, and stay tuned and watch as Siyon grows and develops, and thank you for your sweet time. Everyone have a wonderful day. And ThinkOne, a concert, a festival, Catalyst. Peace out, world. Woo!
Not think of anything else that would get in my way to spread this